Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a late night insight video and I'm trying to talk a little quiet because my daughter's asleep, and actually this is a proper late night insight video because I just realized I'm in my undershirt. But I guess it's not too trashy. But I do have a quick early impression video on an Amouage, which this is actually the second time I've had a chance to smell it. Actually, I'm going to do a fresh spray just because I really enjoy the opening, if you will. And I think the top just flew off of this. I think the little nozzle just came off, so it's just like squirting right now. But either way, this works. So today we're going to talk about an Amouage, which I have not talked about on my channel yet, obviously, or I would not be doing this video. And it is called Meander. So Meander basically is part of the Renaissance collection, if you will, along with three other fragrances. One I just did a video on a couple weeks back called Ashore, and it's actually the exact same perfumer. So the perfumer who did Ashore did Meander, and her name is Mackenzie Riley. I think she's a younger up-and-coming perfumer, okay? And with this collection, there was also Crimson Rocks, which I think I had a chance to smell on on one of my live streams where I tested a bunch of Amouages at once, and I think I actually really enjoyed that one. And Enclave, which I also smelled in passing and thought it was also kind of very similar to how I feel about Meander. So let's talk a little bit about the scent itself and how I feel about it. And remember, these late night insight videos, if you will, or these early impression videos, obviously I don't have a bottle. This is just a couple mils of juice that a friend sent to me. So this was actually sent to me by Allie. So I do have to say thank you very much, Allie, for your generosity. Otherwise, I would not be able to do this review. Although I did smell this in Enclave in passing in, I believe it was the one of the high-end malls in Dallas. I forget the name. I thought it was okay when I smelled it, and I still think it's okay now, okay? So it's not necessarily a bad scent, but here's the thing, okay? So instantly when I spray Meander, the very first thing that comes to mind is this sort of generic woody molecule, okay? And the first group of fragrances that popped into my head that use this type of, let's say, a similar woody molecule, not saying that they smell the same, but I just want to get you into the ballpark, okay? And the first couple fragrances that came to mind when I smelled Meander would be something like this. Declaration by Cartier, by Jean-Claude Ellena, which was basically Jean-Claude Ellena riffing off of his master Edmond Rudnitska's work from the 1950s, Eau de Hermès. I much prefer Eau de Hermès to what I'm smelling right now, or even Declaration to what I'm smelling, to be honest with you. And then, of course, there was the Parfum version of Declaration, which is deeper and richer, and it amps up the cumin and the notes actually that I like. I like this version. The Parfum is actually quite nice. And so this sort of woody Declaration, think of Declaration in all of its flankers, okay? This woody molecule that just runs across the core. Nothing new, nothing extraordinary, nothing exciting. Pleasant, but nothing that's going to make you go, wow, this is an artistic Amouage. And so what you're going to get in the beginning is the slightest bit of that cumin. So the spice here is a very clean spice, if you will. It doesn't have the animalic sweat smell of cumin, but there's just a little bit of a hint of cumin along with pepper when you first spray. And that cumin, if you don't like cumin, don't worry. You will be able to wear this just fine, okay? It's almost like I'm really having to search to pick it out, but I get it. And it reminds me even more of Declaration because Jean-Claude Ellena loves that little touch of cumin. He used it over and over again. He used it in some of his Frederic Malle renditions and stuff like that, okay? So if you don't like cumin, don't worry, because basically what happens is it gets cut. This fragrance feels like it basically gets cut by this carrot note, or carrot seed, if you will. It comes across as a carrot seed note instead of a carrot. They actually list carrot which there's only one or two fragrances in my collection that have a true carrot note. One of them is one of my favorite fragrances from the 1980s that gets very little talk. One of these days I'll do a full Hall of Fame review on it. It's Leonard Poron. There's a proper carrot note in there. And in here they list carrot, but it comes across smelling like carrot seed, to be quite frank, because carrot seed has this rooty earthiness to it that comes across as slightly powdery. And many perfumers use it as a substitute for the much more luxurious and expensive smelling iris note, okay? So, but this does come across as having a little bit of this modernized, you know, if you like fragrances like Dior Homme, even though this doesn't smell anything like Dior Homme, I'll tell you more of the, there's a fragrance that I have in mind that uses a brilliant carrot seed, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but it's cut with carrot seed. And to me, what feels like this, some might say chocolate, but I think it's hazelnut. I've come to the conclusion after wearing this a couple times that I think this is like a hazelnut-like smell in the opening. And that sort of gourmand hazelnut-like smell is nice, okay? It's nice, it's pleasant. Now, many times when people say that something is nice, they mean it as a derogatory, nice, boring, right? And here, I mean, sometimes people actually mean that it is nice, right? It smells nice, it smells pleasant. Here, this works in both fashions because it does technically smell nice, but I'm also kind of saying it in a damning way. You know, this is just nice, unfortunately. And mind you, Amouage is one of my all-time favorite houses, so keep that in mind. It used to be one of my favorite houses back when Christopher Chong ran the ship, before the Fishman came in and started to change the way that Amouage began to release fragrances. And so you have to remember, Amouage is a house that put out stuff like Gold in the 80s. This is a fantastic creation, which I'll review one of these days. Don't believe what you read online for Amouage Gold. It is, you know, it may be a little bit challenging for people who don't like old school scents, but this is a classic for me. I absolutely love Amouage Gold. And Jubilation 25, I'm going to review this one of these days. Now, so while everyone else, all the Free Bottle Brigade, is about to put up their videos for the new Jubilation Exceptional X-Ray 40 and Dia 40 to celebrate 40 years or whatever the hell it is. You know, just, again, the Fishman living like a vampire off of Christopher Chong's work. Instead of creating something new and amazing, just putting out a very similar fragrance at double the price. It pisses me off, to be quite honest with you. And then you think about stuff like the Blue Beast. I mean, this was Interlude Man when it first came out. I mean, even now, this is just an absolutely stunning creation. And the oud, the resins, the smoke, all of it is absolutely mind-blowing. Even the newer stuff like Myths Man. I call this newer, but I think this is like 2016. Oh, just, I mean, a brilliant creation. I love these type of Amouages that are daring and artistic and bold. And that's what Christopher Chong brought to Amouage. And that's one of the reasons why Amouage became my favorite house, because they had these challenging, just zero fucks given. You know, we're going to create something artistic and challenging and sell it as niche. And that's the reason why people like me buy niche. And one of the reasons why I am such a dissenter of the work of what Renaud Salman has done since he took over as the creative director is that he keeps moving Amouage further and further away from what Christopher Chong was doing and moving it further and further. He keeps moving the goalpost further and further to something like this, okay? Not this particular fragrance, but what Parfums de Marly and Initio and so many of these niche houses nowadays are doing. They are taking DNA of designer scents, you know, this very likable DNA, and they're sticking it in a niche bottle, and they're charging $300, $400, $500 a bottle, okay? That's the new strategy, right? That is the new selling point. Take a scent profile that is appealing to as many people as possible and charge 5 to 7 times as much as the designers charge, and people will buy it. They will, because the price convinces them that they're getting something extraordinary. But really, you know, they're getting a designer smell in a very expensive bottle. That's what they're getting. And Amouage was never that. That was never Amouage's forte, if you will. And the Fishman keeps moving closer and closer to that Initio / Parfum de Marly strategy, which I hate, okay? I absolutely despise. You know, it's if you objectively take someone and say, is this a bad fragrance? No, it's not. It's not a bad fragrance. Herod is not a bad fragrance objectively, but is it a niche fragrance that deserves the exorbitant price tag? No, it smells kind of like a designer. It smells very likable by many people. And, you know, I would say very similar things about Meander, to be quite honest with you. To me, Meander is, does it smell bad? No, it doesn't smell bad. It's not objectively a bad fragrance, but as a fragrance enthusiast, okay, I want to smell something unique. And, you know, putting a fragrance like this in an Amouage bottle really depresses me. It really pisses me off, to be quite honest with you, because to me, it's not an Amouage. You know, it's, I mean, it is obviously an Amouage, but it's really not an Amouage to me. It doesn't wear like an Amouage. It doesn't feel like an Amouage. It doesn't, you know, it's almost like the antithesis of what Amouage stood for when I loved the House of Amouage. And so, you know, this just reminds me of like a copy and paste job. I hate to say it, and I really said good things about Mackenzie Riley's work in Ashore. I thought that was a better fragrance and more people should talk about that one. This one feels like a copy and paste job. It just doesn't seem unique. It doesn't seem interesting. And, you know, the other thing is that the quality of the materials in here doesn't seem very high class. I mean, to me, if you want a proper carrot seed fragrance, okay, my personal opinion, if you're interested in this carrot seed note all of a sudden, and you're like, what is this rooty, earthy, you know, powdery thing, and how does it smell? Check this fragrance out. This is Loewe 001 Man. It gets very little talk. This particular one is the Eau de Parfum. And, you know, I actually prefer this to Meander. I would wear this over Meander, my personal opinion. It is more closer to the Dior Homme side of things. But Loewe 001 Man, I think, does a better job highlighting that carrot seed note. Now, like I said, if you really want to study carrot seed, check out Loewe 001 Man. Now, the other thing is, this is sort of like a creamy, woody, sandalwood type fragrance, because what ends up happening is it begins smelling like this generic woody molecule, like I talked about with Declaration. And normally with Amouages, one of the things that really continues the projection and the sillage and makes them, you know, these older Amouages last forever. The pre-magnetic cap version of Jubilation 25, I mean, this is a 14-hour fragrance, a 15-hour fragrance. Absolutely brilliant perfume. And the same goes for Interlude. I mean, Interlude might be a 20-hour fragrance. In the vintage snap cap like this, it literally lasts forever. And the reason is they used such high class, they used very high quality materials. It doesn't smell that way when I smell this. When I smell this sandalwood note in here, it doesn't come across as that sort of spongy, milky sandalwood that you come to, you know, come to know in high quality situations. And I've smelled the real thing. I have the real sandalwood. I have real Mysore vintage. I have different types of sandalwood from all over the world. Thanks to my friend Russian Adam, I've smelled these different actual types of sandalwood. And this is not it. This does not come across as anything except kind of a designer fragrance from decades ago. I mean, that's what the woody molecule smells like. I know it's a newer molecule. Let's say I'm sure Amouage is using sort of the newer molecules, but they've constructed it in a way where it just feels so safe. It feels like something that was done decades ago. It feels like Declaration without sort of the, you know, tougher parts, the more challenging parts taken out. It's like giving someone a test and removing all the questions that people usually miss. That's what it feels like when I'm wearing some of these newer Amouages. That's why I say, not an Amouage. This is not an Amouage to me. Not what Amouage became. Not what Christopher Chong turned Amouage into. And so for me, it's almost like if you pay $360 for 100 mils of this, it's like you've been tricked by the industry. That's really what it feels like, you know. And I think some people are so brainwashed that they'll look and they'll say, well, I mean, blue oud, which I reviewed on my channel, or silver oud by Amouage, those are 500 a bottle. So actually at 360, Meander's not that bad. It's actually kind of a steal. And the reality is that $360 for 100 mils of this type of fragrance is a lot of money, a real lot of money. And, you know, for me, I think there are so many things that make this worse even than I'm making it sound, if that makes sense. Like, I'll give you an example. So Amouage put out some fragrances later on, and I actually have the set here. I wish they, what is this? Do they label this? I don't know. But this is a set of 4 fragrances that they released a year or 2 ago. And one of them was Search. Another one was called Purpose. Another one was called Lineage. And the final one was called Guidance. And I thought they were all shit. Actually, I did a live stream where I tested them all live on camera. You can go watch my thoughts on that. I'm sure you can find it on my channel. If you go to my live streams, you'll find it. But Guidance in particular, okay? Guidance in particular is a fragrance that uses a hazelnut note. Now, this is a Quintambition, so of course it's loaded with Akigala wood and other stuff, but the hazelnut note reminds me a little bit of that slightly gourmand, you know, you could say Nutella / hazelnut feel, that creamy hazelnut that you get in Meander, even though it's not listed in the note listing. I think there's a hazelnut note in here, or some sort of an accord that gives off something like that, this chocolatey hazelnut feel, okay? And then they used a very similar DNA to create this, or I forget if it was maybe Search, but there was another one that gave me this woody feel that felt very similar to when I smell Meander. It almost feels like Amouage is trying to like double dip on ingredients and compositions. And I know different perfumers, but it almost feels like, you know, they're using these very similar molecules, like they bought just a ton of it and they just have to use it in their fragrances. And so it just feels like Amouage pulled like a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 deal. And that's not the way Amouage used to review things. I mean, to me, their fragrances were always so different and so unique. And those days are just gone. They're just dead. It's not Amouage. Amouage is, it's not your father's Amouage anymore. It's a completely different house. And, you know, I've heard some people talk about this fragrance, and I've heard some people say, well, you know, just imagine if this was just in something like Chanel Exclusive, right? Or if it was in something like a Dior Privé or something like that. You would probably like it. It's just not, because it's Amouage or whatever it is, you have higher expectations. I say bullshit to that, you know, because to me, if this was in a Dior Privé, I would absolutely bash the shit out of it, just like I did with Spice Blend. Go watch my review of Spice Blend if you want to hear what I have to say about some of these more recent Privés. This is an absolute travesty. The stuff that Dior is releasing in their Privé line is just an absolute joke. But again, it's the price. It's the price, and it's the illusion of quality. It's people seeing the price tag and instantly thinking, "Oh, I'm just getting a fantastic fragrance." It's you know, $400 for whatever it is. It must be great. It must be the highest class materials. It must this. And this basically is the type of thinking that made LVMH the richest man in the world, one of the richest men in the world. This type of thinking. You think about what they've done with houses like Guerlain, and I mean, the list goes on. So, you know, for me, this fragrance, it is a nice smell. It's not a bad fragrance per se. It's just that Amouage has a reputation. They have a image to uphold. And for me, every time I smell one of these, a little part respect that I had for Amouage dies. It just feels like the house is constantly going more and more and more to the dark side. And then, of course, you add in the free bottles and all the other stuff that's going on. And I just, I just think that for me, I mean, I'm just going to live in the past with Amouage. That's it. I'm going to live in the past. I'm going to enjoy the past offerings that they had. And many of this stuff, I'll do this, I'll talk about it on the channel. But I mean, this is basically just a creamy, woody, there are some little bits and pieces that make it slightly interesting. Like, for example, there is a cypriol note in the heart, which adds just a little bit of earthiness, but it's very toned down, extremely toned down. There's a little bit of vetiver, Java vetiver in the base, which adds a little bit of green. It's not super earthy. Okay, the cypriol adds a little bit of earthiness, but the Java vetiver comes across as a little bit of a cleaner type smell in the base. It begins to turn slightly green. So it goes from sort of this powdery carrot seed and little wisps of incense. So when you see frankincense in the top and frankincense resin in the base, you're going to think, man, this is going to be like a beast. It's not. It's extremely quiet, extremely soft. Like I said, imagine taking Declaration and taking out all of the more challenging parts, the animalic cumin and all the sweatiness and all the stuff Jean-Claude Elena likes to kind of put in there. He also likes to paint with watercolors and be soft, but there's something about, and Declaration Parfum, of course, as well, that can challenge you. This is so soft and wispy. The incense is like wispy. It's like it's like just whisking incense, just extremely soft and delicate and gentle, almost like they're walking on eggshells, like they're afraid to offend. Like, God forbid if I put a little bit more smoke in here, someone out there might not like it. Well, fuck that person then, is what I say. That maybe that fragrance isn't for them. You don't have to appeal to every single person out there, is what I would say to these houses. You can make a fragrance that one person out there doesn't like. And I think by trying to make a fragrance that everyone likes, they end up making a fragrance that no one likes. And that's my biggest thing, is there are some redeeming qualities to this. And there are big rumors out there from people who have worn it a lot longer than me that this just does not project. It doesn't perform. It's a very soft fragrance, and it does feel soft on the skin. I think some of those rumors about not projecting and not performing are a little bit overblown, because I can still smell it as the hours tick by. It just is a very gentle and soft, creamy, woody smell. There are some floral touches in here as well. There's Jonquil, Absolute, which is a type of daffodil, basically. There is also orris root, so I didn't want to give the opinion that only carrot seed was used, but I think carrot seed was used to supplement the orris root, if you will. And there's rose absolute, but I don't get a very high quality. There's just not very much here. Mostly it's that generic woody smell that I've smelled, it feels like, for decades. It doesn't feel like there's anything new or interesting that Amouage brings to the table here at all. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. If you put this under someone's nose who knew Amouage's old offerings, if you put this Meander under their nose, and somebody who knew different houses and said, what is this? I would be shocked if one person even said it's an Amouage. It just doesn't feel that way at all. It just feels like I don't know what you would call it. It feels like just somebody beat the life out of Amouage, and they're just dead in the corner, and they're just scared to raise their voice because they might offend the person who just beat them up so bad. It just feels soft and just weak. It just feels very, very weak. And it's disappointing for me is really what it is. Not, like I said, the scent objectively is not bad. It's the whole story of how we got here and where the House of Amouage is going. And so for me, this is exactly how I felt when I smelt it in passing. This came out in 2020. So it's 3 years old now, although this just feels like yesterday. I remember when this came out thinking, wow, what in the hell is Amouage doing? And this was also right around the time they started releasing flankers. Like that right there is Amouage Interlude Black Iris. So when they started doing flankers and then started doing stuff like this, I was like, man, Amouage is dead. They're basically dead. And the reality is that even though they've had what I think are some respectable releases since then, Royal Tobacco was good. I reviewed that one on my channel. You can go check that out. And Silver Oud is good. I reviewed that one on the channel. You can go check that out. But most of what I've been smelling and what is coming out of the house is extremely disheartening. And I think it's just the industry overall. And then, of course, you add in their exceptional X-rays that they're putting out at double the price, of course, double the price of what Amouage was already an expensive house. So they're going to double it because they're giving you an exceptional X-ray. And, you know, I think the house, for me, this business model does not work for me. So, you know, if stuff like this keep landing in my lap, I'll keep talking about it on the channel. But I am not, let's say I'm not looking forward to, you know, some people are gung-ho about the new exceptional X-rays. I'm out. I'm not giving Amouage a dime. I'm not supporting that behavior. I'm not going to do it. I am not going to support the behavior that they have been putting forward. You know, I think Amouage needs to get back to its roots, honestly. Honestly, my opinion, Amouage needs to, like my Raiders, right? I'm a Las Vegas Raider fan, Oakland Raider fan from way back when. And, you know, they fired Josh McDaniels recently. The owner is still paying him $85 million or whatever just to not coach the team because coaches' contracts are guaranteed, right? He just ate it, you know, realized it was a mistake, ate it. And I think it was the right move. And I think Amouage needs to just get rid of Renaud Salman, get back to somebody like Chong. They don't have to bring Chong back, although that would be badass, but they have to get back to that mindset. And now, unfortunately, I feel like they've become so commercialized. They've sold bits and pieces of themselves off since the Sultan passed away. And they have turned themselves into the opposite of his vision, you know. As a perfume lover, I think the Sultan of Oman, who founded Amouage, would be angry with what they are doing and where they've gone. And, you know, this just money-making operation. They're just trying to, it's just turned into just like everything else. You know, they're just trying to maximize profits and they don't give a shit about the creativity side anymore, is what it feels like to me. It's what it feels like to me. It's my personal opinion. So anyways, that's my late night insight. That's my rant. I'm going to upload this, hit the sack. So appreciate you guys watching. If you have experience with Meander, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the House of Amouage. I feel like I could have this conversation every single day. I'm going to be reviewing some Amouages here because Allie very kindly sent me some of these juices. So there's going to be some Amouage reviews, but I'm going to try to mix in some good ones too. I'm going to try to mix in some of these Hall of Fame reviews. Well, this one won't be a Hall of Fame, but stuff like Interlude and Jubilation and Gold will be Hall of Fame reviews. So anyways, that's my take. I appreciate you watching. Cheers, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.